Welcome back to the Indie Inkwell. My name is Jeremy, one of your hosts, and Jesus, candle needs to go the hell out. And I am your co-host today for the Indie Inkwell. My co-host is back this week from being off for a week sick. Michael, aka Longbox Entertainment. What is up, my guy?
What is up, brother? I'm glad to be back. As you know, I was feeling a little under the weather last week, so glad to be back this week. I'm still not at 100%, but hey, I'm here for our viewers. So let's do
Hey,
this.
that's what matters, man. And excuse me, guys. There's this cough thing going around like everywhere right now.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh, you got the sickness too.
But anyway, our guest tonight was unable to attend because he is under the weather. So we want to go ahead and wish J.M. Ringway, I believe is how you pronounced his last name, a speedy recovery. We are going to have him back on the show later. We're going to get him
Mhm.
rescheduled, get him back on here, and make sure we can go over Fungi because that is a really, really cool book.
Oh, yes, it is.
But,
It is.
good God.
You got some water, bro?
Yeah, give me a second here. I apologize. Go figure. Like right when we start, I start getting an itch in my throat.
Hey, that happens.
So, since we do not have a guest this evening, what we're going to do is we are going to go over a pretty old debate in the comic book community, but one that
Mhm.
it comes up, it goes away, it comes up, it goes away, and that's whether or not indie comics, or I'm sorry, whether or not Image comics are indie comics. And then we're also going to go over some of our favorite indie comic book releases from 2023. So we've still got a really good
Mhm.
show in store for you guys today. But before we get into all of that, we do have to give a big shout out to our sponsors, Into the AM, who are sponsoring this episode of the Indie Inkwell. And they're also the people that provided that lovely t-shirt that Longbox Entertainment is wearing right there. Do you happen to
Yes,
remember the name of
sir.
that shirt that you're wearing right there?
I don't remember the name of this one. I just know it looked cool with the astronaut and the freaking playing the arcade games. So it was real cool. I just want to say their shirts are immaculate, fam. The fit is nice. You see how they wrap around my arms. Got the guns looking good. The
Yep,
graphics are
all their
really nice.
t-shirts have that tailored cut to them, so it's not real, like, super baggy in the sleeves. It actually cut even a scrawny dude look like me, it makes me look like I got a little bit of muscle going on, you know?
Yeah, facts, 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 facts. If you want to impress the ladies, wear what it is. You got it. You're gonna be looking like I don't know, He-Man or something.
But yeah, they are a team of artists and creators with the shared vision of seeing clothing as a canvas to express yourself and what drives you. And since 2012, they've been developing premium apparel with the goal of elevating self expression and providing unmatched comfort no matter where your passions may take you. They have everything from simple basic tees like the ones you see on the screen here, all the way to the awesome graphic t-shirts that you saw Longbox wearing just a moment ago. They have bundle packs 3 for $61.95, or you can even get 6 and save $40, plus whatever discounts they're offering on the website. Plus, if you use code JJ Comics at checkout, you will get an additional 10% off of your order. You can also click the link in the description below this video or go to intotheam.com/JJ Comics, and you will also get that 10% off your order. So if you need to kind of update your wardrobe, get some new flashy t-shirts for that next comic book convention that you're going to, or gaming convention, or whatever stuff you're into, they've got styles for everybody on there. Once again, that is intotheam.com/JJ Comics to get 10% off your order and help support this show and the indie comic book community. So
Yes, sir.
now that our sponsor is appeased, let's
Cool.
go into. Do you want to do our favorite runs from this year so far, or do you want to go
You,
into the
you know what?
debate?
Let's get into the debate first. Let's get into the spiciness.
Okay, he wants
You
to get
know,
spicy, folks. So
let's get
children, leave
spicy.
the room. No,
Whoa, it's
but
not
no,
that
this is
type.
a pretty hot
Not that
topic in
type of
comic
podcast.
books. I feel like because it's something I've argued with a lot of people about, and
Yeah.
it's whether or not Image comics are really indie comics. when they first started in the 90s, they were 100% independent. You know, nobody would really argue with that back then. Spawn was not an internationally known character yet.
Facts, facts, facts,
Now,
facts.
forward to 2023, Spawn is everywhere. Every
Everywhere, you know.
book on
I mean,
Image.
I think even my mom knows who Spawn is. So, you know, that's saying a lot, you know.
Right.
Um, Spawn has been in everything right now. You know, he's had a movie. Everybody remembers the movie from the 90s with Michael Jai White. Um,
And side note, real quick, since you mentioned that movie, I want to give a little PSA for everybody out there that always complains about the CGI in modern day movies. Go back and watch the original Spawn live action movie and tell me tell me what bad CGI is after watching that movie.
Facts,
Now,
man. Like when
granted,
people
they were very limited for what they had to work with at the time. This was what, late
facts,
80s, early 90s. So
yeah. When
there
people
is a little
complain
bit of
about
leeway
stuff
you
like
gotta
that,
give them, but at the same time, it's like there's other
yeah,
movies from
yeah.
that era that are very well done with their CGI capabilities at the time, so
Facts. When people complain about that, I'm just like, "Oh, you must be new to this. It's okay.
Right,
You're
exactly, man, like
you're new to this nerd scene, aren't you?" But no, everybody knows like the Spawn movie. You know, Spawn had an animated series. It's actually on HBO Max now, or just Max as they call it.
and that
Uh,
one went for a while too, that one went
it,
longer than
it's
most
pretty.
comic book cartoons do.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I watched it. It's pretty good.
It's a
Very
very,
dark.
accurate adaptation from the comic books onto
Yes.
screen.
Yes, yes, and it's not for younger viewers, so if you are
No, I mean,
not
but that's the same with comics. I mean, I would not recommend a Spawn comic book to somebody who's got, like, a 10-year-old,
facts, facts, wouldn't do
you
that.
know?
Very mature, explicit content. There's cussing, there's, nudity, there's a lot of things like that, but yeah, for me, I feel like Image, it's still indie. It's still indie, and the reason why I feel as though it's still indie is the fact that yes, some of these properties from Image have become super popular, super popular. You know, they're everywhere. Like just look at Invincible. You know,
Look at Invincible, look at Spawn, look at Radiant Black, look at
yes,
they've got mega hits.
yes, yes. But the reason why I think they're still indie is because Image they only distribute the comics. They don't own any of those characters, anything that still goes to the creators. And just because something becomes very popular doesn't automatically make it, I guess, like the big two, you know, like Marvel and DC. You know, it's just because they became a little bit more mainstream. I think they're only more mainstream in comic book spaces, not necessarily the whole big
Well, and I
landscape.
think a lot of it is gonna come down to what your personal definition of an indie comic publisher is.
Mhm. Most
Now,
def,
is
most def.
indie to you people that aren't with a publisher, people who only self-publish, is that your definition of indie, or is your definition of indie creator-owned? Because
Right,
creator-owned is, that's a whole other ballgame we could get into,
right, because it's
because
different. You know what
Dark
I'm saying?
Horse does the same thing,
Hmm.
and so does a lot of the indie publishers. Boom Studios does a lot of creator-owned projects, like,
Yes, yes,
now
yes.
even Boom, like some people would say, is probably not indie these days because of how popular they're getting. But at the same time, a lot of their stuff is still creator owned. Like Boom Studios does not own all of their IPs.
That is true. That is true. Like they don't, you know. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. Now I'm getting a tickle in my throat too. Look what you did, JJ. Uh, but and that's true. You know, I don't. I feel like the big thing about Marvel and DC, if you create any character from Marvel and DC, you have to know that you are creating this character with the fact that you don't own this character. You know,
Mhm.
Marvel and DC owns the character. You are
Even
work
if you created a
for
character from scratch
hire.
for you are work for hire, yes.
You're work for hire. That
Now, I'm sure there are certain creators that have certain deals,
yeah, Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
obviously we're not privy to those kind of conversations.
Uh, true, 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 true. I mean, I'm pretty sure like you look at like Neil Gaiman, he probably had some deals, especially with the Sandman,
Yeah,
universe
I
and
I
stuff.
think that would probably depend on the level of creator that it is. Like, a Neil Gaiman is not
Hmm.
just a comic book writer, you know what I'm saying? Neil Gaiman
Right,
does
right, right.
full-blown novels, and
Hmm.
he's done screenplays and all kinds of things.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So it's kind of you know, and really with this whole like conversation, it's all like opinion based on what you think it is. But at the end of the day, Image, even though it has become more mainstream, I know a lot of people like to say there's no big two anymore. There's the big three. You know,
I've been hearing that a lot lately, and I on a certain level, I do agree with that
On a certain level, I do because
because Image is definitely by far and above the 3rd biggest player in the game right now.
true. But you have to ask yourself: do the mainstream, like the general audience, do they know Image or do they just know Spawn or do they just know Invincible or do they just know Walking Dead? You know what I'm
Firepower
saying?
or,
Like,
Image
do
is
they
not I
know
don't see a lot of people with brand loyalty to
Image?
Image. The
Exactly.
same way you
So,
have people that are Marvel specific fans or DC specific fans.
exactly, exactly. So it's like, where do you really like put it? But I feel like Image is a great success story. Like the fact that Image, of course, they were going to succeed, right?
Mhm.
You had the biggest names in comics in the 90s
9 of them that left the
creating
2 huge publishers that already had built names
Image.
for themselves.
Yes, you had Todd McFarlane, Mark Silvestri, Jim Lee, Eric Larson, Rob Liefeld. It goes on and on and
I was
on and
about to say
on.
I was gonna name some people,
So
but I think you got most of them.
yeah, yeah, I was like on and on and on. And like they already had a name for themselves. You're gonna be like, hey, you can see Todd McFarlane from his work on Spider-Man, right? And then you could be like, you know what? I want to check out the Spawn character. You can see Jim Lee work from X-Men and be like, hey, I want to check out these Wildcats.
Mhm.
You're gonna be disappointed in the story, but
Right.
but pretty art, right? So it's like I, can you really use them as a good example, right? That's why I respect them, but I really respect like indie creators that are really just starting off right out the gate
Mhm.
with their own product. Like that's true
Well, like our guest
indie
last week,
creation.
Hamza Pachenkovich, he
Mhm,
the book we were talking about, The Crystal Compass, it's his first comic book that
mhm.
he has written and drawn completely on his own. He's done like commission work for stuff, but and those are the people that we really like to have here on the show because those are the passionate ones. Those are the
Yes,
ones who are not in it just for the paycheck.
yes, yes,
Because
yes,
in
yes.
all reality, I mean, let's face it, there's not a lot of money in this industry unless you are doing huge things.
I mean, it's not. I mean, especially if you're going to work for, let's say, Marvel and DC. Um,
I'd
there's
honestly
not big
almost
money
argue
there.
there's probably more money in the indie market to be tapped into than there is for Marvel and DC because they're going to cap you out at a certain point, right? I would imagine.
Oh, most definitely, most definitely. I mean, like
Whereas if you self-publish, there's no limit to what you can make off that book.
mhm. a lot of
It's all in how
creators,
well you promote it.
a lot of creators from Marvel and DC, they get their regular paycheck for writing and drawing, right? But they mostly get paid from us, the fans, going to conventions and like
Buying
buying their
autographs, buying
autographs,
artwork prints,
buying artwork.
buying variant
Yes,
covers, and
we we pay them a lot.
oh, that's why when you meet them at conventions, 99% of them are like the sweetest people you'll ever talk to.
Yes, and I would hope they would be. You know what I'm saying? Because like,
Right, like but
that would
you do
suck.
encounter the random odd asshole anywhere you go,
Yeah,
so
that's true. That is definitely true. That is definitely true. But
But yeah, let us know in the comment
Yeah.
section or in the live chat. What do you guys think? Is Image Comics still indie comics, or have they gone past that point now?
Who knows? Who knows? I always feel like they they're
Because I don't think
definitely
popularity can really be the measuring stick of
yeah, because
whether
then
or
we
not you're indie. Because just
yeah.
because you're indie doesn't mean you can't be popular.
Yeah, it's like being mad that they made it. You know what I'm saying? Like, they
Right,
made it. They
yeah,
made it to the
like,
big like
it's like when your favorite artist first starts out and you discovered them when they first started, and then they blow up
Mhm.
and you're like, "Oh, they sold out." Like, did they
Yeah, that's
sell out or did they finally make it?
yeah, exactly. Like, I always found
And
that weird.
90% of those people nowadays are indie artists, so
Facts, facts. And I'm just gonna say this because, again, I know we mentioned Todd McFarlane and all them. Todd McFarlane said that, especially in the '90s, you couldn't go to, say, Marvel and DC pitching your own idea for a character. You had
no,
to
you
go
got
there.
hired to pick up off of one of the characters they have already established. In
Exactly. If you
very rare instances will
Yes,
you get to create your own character for a huge publisher like that.
yes, he said that to get a job working for them, you had to prove to them that you can already do what they produce, right? So you had to go in, for instance, be like, okay, draw Spider-Man. Because if you draw Spider-Man and they know what a good Spider-Man looks like. So they are more
Oh, yeah,
inclined to
they're
give
always
you a
after a
job.
very specific look with Spider-Man. If you don't get that,
Exactly.
you're probably not gonna get that job.
Or any of these big characters, Batman, Wonder Woman, like characters like to have a certain look that people know, right? So the fact that certain uh Robert Kirkman, for example, bro, the fact that he went in and was like, all right, I'm doing Walking Dead, I'm doing Invincible, and that is it, and built those franchises up. Those are big $1 million franchises now.
Mhm, but they didn't
And
start that way.
they didn't start that way, but he built up to it, and that's
And now
amazing.
you go and try and find a single issue of Invincible #1
Mhm.
and see how much it costs.
Yeah, yeah, especially after the TV show. Like,
And
it's
especially if
insane.
it's graded anything above a 7, you're gonna be spending easy 4 or $500.
Oh, crazy money, crazy money, crazy money.
And that's an indie book. Now,
Yeah,
granted, it does have a TV show and stuff, but again, does that mean it's not indie anymore because Kirkman still owns it?
he does. He owns everything about it.
I mean, he still holds all the licenses and copyrights, so he
Yeah,
just leases out stuff so it can go places. At
still
least that's my
creating own.
understanding of his setup. Obviously,
And
I've never looked at his contract or anything.
I and I think Ryan Otley and dang, what's the other guy that did some art? I think they still own like their art
Mhm.
they did for it,
I
right?
believe so, yeah.
So so yeah,
I mean, if we're wrong, correct us in the chat. Feel free,
please,
but
please correct us because I mean we don't know everything.
oh, no, I'll never claim that.
Yeah,
I get corrected
yeah,
all the time on things, and I love that because it helps me learn and be better.
yeah, facts, man. Facts. But I guess now we can move on to our next topic, right? Since we're talking
Yeah,
about it.
let's,
Are we gonna start out with number 5 and then work our way up to number 1?
I figure we don't even have to do any particular order, just whatever comes to your head first.
Okay, cool,
So let's
cool, cool,
start with
cool,
one
cool.
of yours because you've got 5. I only, chose 4 for tonight.
I know I'm extra.
No, it's all good. We had to
Alright.
kinda, throw this episode together last minute, so you guys are seeing what happens when plans change at the very last second.
Exactly. So, we're doing our top 5 independent comics that we read this year.
Well,
So,
I'll be doing a
we
top 4.
and he'll be doing a top 4, I did a top 5, right? Now, not all these comic books necessarily came out in 2023. I just happened to read them in 2023. So, they count, right? They count.
Yeah, that counts.
Um, so I guess I'm just gonna go right into it, right? Uh, First off, I'm gonna say my number 5 pick is Berserker by Keanu Reeves, man. and art by
Now,
Matt
now
Kent.
this is one of the most hyped up series that I have ever not read.
Oh man, bro,
And I think the
this
reason that I haven't read it is because everyone tells me I have to.
hey,
And I
hey,
know that sounds weird, but when everybody is so hyped on something, I don't wanna over anticipate for something. I don't wanna go
bro,
into it expecting this crazy thing, and then it's not even my style of stuff, you know what I'm saying?
JJ. I think JJ, we've known each other now for like 2 years, right? Going on 2 years.
I met you, I think, right after you came back from that deployment in 2021.
Okay, so
So,
yeah,
mid-pandemic, but, like,
we got like
very
a year and a half. We're almost
yeah,
at 2 years. We're almost at 2 years, right? I think I know you enough to know what you like.
okay.
And bro, I think you would really dig this. So basically, like the
I say
premise
I'm probably
is,
the only person on the internet who hasn't read this book.
bro, it I mean, it's getting crazy. So
I'll say break it down for the few of us out here who haven't read this.
so basically, it's about this guy. His name is B. He's only known as B, right? He's half mortal, as in half human, and half god, right? So he's
Okay.
basically like an immortal god. He can't die. He gets shot up and stuff, and he just heals, man. It's like Wolverine almost.
Alright, so similar
And
to Wolverine or Deadpool's powers.
exactly. And he works for the US government, right? But he has like amnesia. He has amnesia. He doesn't know much about his past. And over the course of time, he gets flashbacks to his past. So he's starting to learn about his past. And there's this whole government conspiracy aspect to it. Like, why is he working for the government? Why do they have him? How did he like lose his memory? All that jibber jab, right? But it's so good, bro. And it's violent. This is not for children. It is not for children.
Very few of
Um,
these books are gonna be for kids, in all honesty. The titles we're going over today are really not for a
no.
young audience. So, I think we
Um,
need to go ahead and put that disclaimer out real quick. We're not showing any graphic artwork or anything like that,
no.
but
Not gonna
these
do
are
that.
not kid-friendly titles.
But yeah, I don't know if this is Keanu Reeves' first comic book he ever done, but this is the first one I've ever read from him, and I just want to say he did a really good job. Of course, he does the character design is to look like him, so I feel
Mhm.
like he's basically writing himself, and you can definitely see like say like the way he plays like John Wick, like those type of characters. You can
I
see
mean, you can see
that.
it in the face of that cover right there in the middle. It's the if for those listening, not watching, it's the, cover of Berserker: Poetry of Madness #1,
Yes,
and it's basically Keanu Reeves in Dracula armor with a big black sword in his hand,
yes,
facing you down, staring you down with that classic John Wick, like, look on his face.
yes, and it's just so good, and the artwork is beautiful. It's something
I
I'm
will say
really
from
like.
what I've seen of the artwork, it looks like it's been done extremely well.
Yes, yes, and it's from Boom Studios. So like how we mentioned Boom Studios earlier, and yes, fully owned by Keanu Reeves. It's actually they have a live action movie in the works,
I was
and
gonna
they
say I did hear
also
rumors they got optioned for a television show as well, like an animated series.
an animated series. Yes, I think Netflix is going to do it. So yeah, man, it's becoming a big thing. I have the first trade paperback. I think if people should probably hunt down that issue number one now, why it's relatively cheap,
While it's
because I
still
think it's gonna go.
relatively cheap, yeah,
Yeah. So
because 'cause I'm
yeah,
sure it's
that's
gonna go up. You can find the trades pretty easily, though. I do see the trade
mhm,
paperbacks in a lot of shops, so
yes,
if you wanna get a
yes.
hold of is that's how it's pronounced, right? Berserker.
Berserker, yes.
I know everybody at home watching and listening, they're like, "Are you serious? You haven't read this, JJ?" Like, "Yes, I'm serious. I'm sorry. I have not read this one."
Amen.
But if you wanna
Amen.
check it out, you can get it pretty easily through your local comic shop or online somewhere, I'm sure.
Facts, facts. Maybe one day, I would get, JJ to read it and we'll go more in depth. about the story. So
I'll say, well, you and me do trade recommendations back and forth. There's another book on this list that it took me a while, but I'm pretty sure I'm the one who got you to finally read one of the books on your list.
mhm,
But,
mhm.
we'll
Yes,
get to
sir.
that here in a few. One of the books I wanna get out of the way real quick is Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees. This one flew under a lot of people's radar, man. It's
Oh
from
wow,
IDW
yeah.
Publishing, and it's a lot darker than a lot of stuff that IDW usually puts out. You know, they got the kids licenses.
Mhm.
They've got Sonic the Hedgehog and My Little
Teenage Mutant Ninja
Pony and
Turtles, yeah.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You know, even that's gotten pretty dark recently, but that's a whole other
Pretty dark.
topic.
Mhm,
But this story, man, follows it's a city full of anthropomorphic animals, you know.
mhm.
So think like Berenstain Bears or any cartoon like that from when you were a kid, except the main character is a serial killer.
Oh yes, I could definitely see that.
From the artwork, I'm sure you can from what I'm showing, but basically, the character has been a serial killer for about 20 years in their small town. They only go after, like, out-of-towners that come in for vacation, stuff like that, and someone ends up killing someone in their hometown, from their
Mhm.
hometown, and it wasn't them. So now
Oh,
they're trying to find out who this other serial killer is before he accidentally leads them to his bodies that he's buried. So it's like a serial killer trying to
oh,
catch another serial killer before the cops catch him.
okay, so he's like, "Hey, man, this man might mess up what I got going on
Yes,
here."
exactly that. And
I
it's
like
just
that.
happened to be told with, like I said, anthropomorphic animals. So you're
Okay.
getting, the main character is a bear. The
Mm.
first victim of the story is a duck. They're
He's like,
her
"Hey, boo
best.
boo,
Yeah,
someone's trying to mess up my killing
one of
spree."
her best friends is a tortoise. So it kind of
Yeah,
goes the gambit of animals, but it's something really unique that I did not expect from IDW.
the artwork looks really nice. I like the
It's
watercolor.
very young, like, children's book artwork, which is great, but
Yes.
like I said, this is not a children's book. It does get graphic. It shows them dismembering and
Yeah.
getting rid of their victims, and it
Yeah.
it it's a lot, but
That's
it's
crazy.
so unique. It was so fun.
Are
So
there
if you're
any,
into weird horror
trades out?
stuff, it's definitely, something I need to recommend.
Are there any, trade paperbacks out of it?
Yeah, it's, a complete story and trade paperback, I believe, right now. So you
Okay,
should be able to
cool.
get it either on IDW or Amazon or, any
Okay,
of those
okay,
fun places. I believe I found it on Global Comics.
okay. Makes sense, makes sense, makes sense. That dude, Imma definitely have to check that out. I'm definitely gonna have to check that out.
It's
That
unique, man. Like, I'd
it
never heard of a plot like that. Like, I guess it's similar to Dexter if you think about it,
mhm.
but
So that's what I was thinking too, you
yeah, because
know?
it's a serial killer who goes after other serial killers, but
Mhm.
it's not her normal victim MO. It's
Right.
just now she has to do that because he's gonna screw it all up for her,
Yeah, yeah, man, that's wild. So I guess we go to my 4th pick, right?
Yeah, what's your number 4?
Alright, so my number 4 is a book named Polarity.
This is another one that I actually haven't even heard of. This one must have completely went underneath my radar.
Oh, man, this goes under a lot of people's radars. This is a really older indie book that,
I was gonna say, I
um
know this one's been out for a while after I did a little bit of quick research on it.
yes, yes, this came out in, 2013, I
Okay.
believe. It's written by, Max, Bemis. And so it's about this guy. He's a writer, he does art and stuff, right? And he suffers through mental illness, right? So he's on a lot of like uh, depression meds and all this stuff, right? One day he stops taking his meds. His meds run out,
Oh, no.
but he realized his meds haven't been just suppressing, his mental illness. It's also been suppressing his superpowers.
Ah,
Yes. So it goes into the fact this
that's
man has
interesting.
yes. So he has superpowers and he finds out that his therapist has been in it the whole time. So he's trying to figure out what is going on. Why do I have these powers? Why don't I know about myself and my life? It's almost similar to why I like Berserker because I love stories with characters. They just like you get thrown into a story and
Oh, so
then
you're
you
I've noticed
learn.
you're a big fan of, like, the amnesia storylines for characters,
Yes, yes, because it just throws you into a story and then you have to learn the backstory after the fact. So
and
I
you're
like
kinda
that.
learning along with the character at the same time, so you feel more
Yes.
attached to the characters with those, I feel like.
Yes, 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 I do. And this definitely does it. The artwork is beautiful. It's also very violent, very mature. Um,
It looks like a
there's
lot
a
of, religious themes thrown in there as well.
there's some stuff with that as well. There's
I know you're trying not to spoil things for
I
everybody
don't
too.
I definitely don't want to spoil anything. This is something one of my friends, my one of my best friends, they recommended this to me and they actually gave me these issues. They weren't originally mine. So they gave it to me and I read it and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And they were like, yeah, you can keep it, blah blah blah. I was like,
That's
oh thank
awesome.
you. So yeah, it's really good. It's only 4 issues long, quick read. You can literally
Oh, that's
like
cool.
yeah, you can literally read them all, like, in one sitting. It's very quick. So,
I would
yeah,
say I know that
clarity.
Berserker is the exact opposite of that. I know it's a rather thick boy read.
It's about I mean, well, it's getting
Because
up
it's
there.
still going,
It's still going. Yeah, yeah. It's
like
getting
a
up there.
couple series on here are still going actually, but
But, yeah, that one's a good one. A good quick read.
heck yeah. So the next one, I have actually interviewed the creator of this on, the Comic Press when I was with Nerd Initiative, and this one is Road Trip to Hell from Scout Comics. Nicole D'Andrea wrote it. I cannot remember the first names of any of the other people on this book right now because I don't have them in front of me. But I did interview Erica or Nicole, and she's also a editor at Scout Comics. So if you're a fan of them, you've probably read something that she's worked on. But this one, the main character is adopted, and he comes to find out that he is also the son of Satan. So he has this ability that if he touches somebody, he can see how they're gonna die,
What?
and
That's
thought he
kinda
was just
cool.
born with this weird ability, so he uses it as, like, a fortune teller gig to make money down on the beach and stuff like that,
Mhm,
and then, Baphomet the demon shows up at his house one day after he gets done at
mhm.
the place and shows up with this letter. It says, "Hey, your dad is Satan, but he's been destroyed, and now you are to be named the new king of hell."
Uh-uh.
Now here's the kicker.
Mhm,
All of the damned souls in hell have been let loose. And if they can kill him before he gets to hell to claim
mhm.
his throne, they can take over. So you've got people like Attila the Hun coming after him, Hitler,
Is that who that was
like,
in that panel?
yeah, that's Attila the Hun.
I thought so. Oh,
And
man.
he gets a guardian angel to help him, who is Joan of Arc. She comes
Mhm.
down and tries to help him get to his throne so that somebody like horrible doesn't take over hell.
Yeah.
And it's just so much fun. It's one of those horror comedy things that I love so
Mhm.
much because 'cause I'm not big on scare and gore just for scare and gore's sake.
Yeah, yeah, same here, same here. Like if you're gonna give me horror, I also like a little something else. I either want horror mixed with another genre, if that makes sense. Like
Mhm.
horror mixed with drama, horror mixed with,
And
you know,
I honestly wouldn't
comedy.
even really consider this a horror book. It's
Mhm.
definitely more of like a dark comedy
Dark comedy. Yeah.
with like a few horror elements thrown into it. And
Mhm.
I mean, you could tell it's done in like a very like a vibrant cartoony art
Very
style.
animated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very animated. Like, I would love to see this turned into a show, dude. It would be so much fun.
I can see it
'Cause,
already.
just in the first issue alone, you see, like, 15 different horrific figures from history trying to
Yeah.
come after this kid.
So even like history buffs could like get a crack out of it, you know,
Oh,
because
yeah,
they're
and
seeing all
because
these different.
especially too, she's, the writer, Nicole D'Andrea has tried to keep all the characters as authentic to the real life people as she could.
Mhm.
So Joan of Arc acts like Joan of Arc.
Okay, okay.
Hitler acts like Hitler. Like
So you know the thing about about
now,
so
granted, I
Jonah
will say this, Hitler does not last very long in this book.
so
So if that's a concern for anybody, trust me, he gets his very quickly in this book.
well, you know, that's good. I don't think nobody's gonna complain about that. But
No.
you know, the crazy thing is like, so that's like the difficult part, right? Because like Joan of Arc, I think that's easier, right? Because you can base it off of what we have read about
Mhm.
Joan of Arc, right? When it comes to historical figures like Hitler, where you can watch video footage
Uh-huh.
of Hitler. You know what I'm saying? You can see his mannerisms and stuff. So it's kind of
But it's definitely done in
interesting.
a way that it doesn't, like, showcase how horrible these people are, like, to where, like, it's showing crazy shit, you know what I'm saying?
Right, right,
Like,
right, right, right.
these characters, I'm telling you, like, this is a fast-paced book. Some of these characters
Mhm.
do not last very long.
I
Like,
agree.
they're in a couple of
I
scenes and then they
agree.
get taken out, you know?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
so,
Oh man,
it's a lot of fun, though. If people, like, out there like really dark comedy, this is definitely a fun one.
I definitely
Again,
like
not one
the
for kids despite the art style.
I definitely like the artwork. I definitely it's
It
nice.
it's fun, dude. Scout Comics, if anybody watches me on any of my content knows I'm a huge Scout Comics fan.
Now, so I guess it's my turn, right?
It is your turn. You got 3 left.
All right, my third pick, right? Now, this is actually a horror book, right? So, my third pick is Ice Cream Man.
Now, I'm actually kinda shocked it took you this long to read this one
Uh, I'm shocked too.
because this
I'm
one's been
shocked.
around a while. It's pretty well known
It,
in the horror comic community. It's pretty popular.
yeah, yeah. I think it's been around now for at least what, like 3 years, three
At
or so
least 3 or
years.
4 years, yeah.
Um, dude. Okay, I am actually kind of shocked that I it took me so long to read this because remember when we interviewed the creator of Bite Size, right?
Mhm.
Uh,
John Clark.
John Clark, yes, and I told him how I liked his story because it was an anthology and it reminded me of Tales of the Crypt.
Yeah.
Well, Ice Cream Man is the exact same way. It's an anthology, um, and each issue is like a different little story. And the only thing that really is the reoccurring element is the Ice Cream Man. Is he a
He's
demon?
pretty much the crypt keeper, right? I
He's the
mean,
Crypt
he's
Keeper.
the
Yes,
storyteller, he's the narrator, he's the
he
one pulling all the strings.
He pulls all the strings. Yes, is he a demon? Is he a ghost? What is it? What is he? We don't know. And I think that's one of the interesting things about this. And like a lot of the stories, just like Tales of the Crypt, you learn a lesson at the end.
Mhm.
You know, a story
Yeah,
about
'cause it's a dark way of teaching you life lessons.
yes, yes.
Sorta like the
My
monkey's
favorite.
paw. It reminded me of the monkey's paw when I first started reading it. I'm like, "This is a similar concept." Like, it's not exactly obviously, the monkey's paw is not, but it's a very similar deal to where, like, it's a lot
Mhm.
of be careful what you wish for and things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. And it shows like humanity, like who are the real monsters, you know? Sometimes it's humanity. You know, like we have freaking one of my favorite stories in there is I think it's issue maybe 3 or 4. I can't really remember top of my head, but it's the issue where you have the couple, they're together and then they get hooked on drugs. And how far will you go to freaking get your fix?
Mhm.
And just the horror in that issue, it felt real. That one didn't have too much supernatural elements. There was a little. I don't want to like spoil anything, but yeah. It's Ice Cream Man. It's great. It's great.
And Cody Collects, shout out Cody Collects, our good buddy.
Oh yeah,
Prince does great with anthologies. Check out Silver Coin, another great horror anthology. I will agree with that. I finally found copies of Silver Coin book 1 and 2 in
yep. I've
trade
heard.
and read them, and I'm in love with the series. But I am one of those readers that I refuse to read things out of order. So now I have to wait until I have found 3 to read 4, even though I have 4.
I'm the same way, man. I'm the same way. I can't read stuff like out of order like that.
No, it
But
bugs me because even if it's an anthology series, I'm like, "No." Because
no,
what if
because
something in
things
that comes back and
something
relates to something else, you
something
know?
matters. Because with Ice Cream Man, even though things seem very disconnected at first, once they start merging, yeah, you see it, you know.
It's one of the anthology series that is done very well and very subtly connected to everything else in the series.
Yes, yes, yes.
And it's rare to
Def-
see it done subtly and done well at the same time.
oh, most definitely. That's true.
It's either done really blatant right in front of your face and well, or not well. But
Yeah, once you start seeing like the connecting beats, it hits because you're like, oh yeah, okay, yeah. But yeah, that's my number three, my number three pick.
hell yeah. So my next one is gonna be, I just did a video on this one, and this is Blue Book from Dark Horse Comics. Tynion is writing on this, and this is one of the most, again, a really unique run that I've been reading. Um, it tells real stories of like really strange and unexplained events that happen to real people.
Mm,
So the whole first volume covers the very first alien abduction story that got widely popularized.
um,
So it was the Betty and Barney Hill abduction in 1961.
oh, so these are actual real
Yeah,
stories.
these are real stories. Like
Oh
it's
wow.
and so instead of just doing it as like an anthology series, like, one story or 4 in a book, they did the whole first volume of the run
Uh,
on that same story.
oh
So you've
wow.
got
Okay.
5 issues that go through the entire story from start to finish, the abduction, the news coverage of it, what they went through emotionally, like everything.
Okay.
And they're going to be hopping back and forth into different, time periods during the 20th century, just going over these like strange experiences that people have had.
I like the artwork. It looks very retro.
Yeah, and
Um,
and I love the title and the artwork because it matches so well. It's called The Blue
yeah,
Book, and the artwork is all blue, white, and black
I like
in
that.
different shades of blue. Like it's
Hmm.
so well done.
I like that. It really pops. It really pops.
Like with the cover of the book one, it would be really easy to lose those mountains in the background with just using black and white and blue.
And you
But they
said
did
it's
it really
is
well. You can actually see like the scale of the environment around their car.
you said it's James Tinian.
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's interesting.
And
That's real
Oming
interesting.
is doing the art, and there's another creator on it. I cannot remember their first name to save my life right now, but Bidikar, I believe is
Bidikar.
how you pronounce the last name.
Yeah, James
But yeah, so
Tinian
if you like
is.
aliens or just weird, creepy, strange stories like that, Blue Book is something you definitely want to check out. Volume 2 starting soon, and I can't wait to see what they actually are
And
covering in
it's
that one.
based on true stories from
That's the fun
yes.
part, is that they're real
Woo.
stories that happen to real people, so you can actually go
Mhm,
and do research online and find out even more
mhm.
about what all happened. I'm sure there's interviews you could find online.
Man,
You
that's
can find
crazy.
anything on YouTube if you look hard enough.
That is true. And you know, James Tinian, he's just one of those modern day
He
writers that
doesn't
are
really miss right now.
killing
He's
it.
been hitting, like, home run after home run for a long time now.
I love his work, like not just his indie work, but like also like even his mainstream, Marvel DC stuff is good
Mhm.
too. So he kills it. And actually, speaking of James Tinian,
Is that where we're going next?
my number two. Oh man, and I have to thank you, JJ, for this. I hope people know
It
this because
only took me 8 months to get him to read
I
issue 1.
I would never, I would have never read this series if it wasn't for him. And I did, and I absolutely fell in love with it. I went crazy. And
and
that
bought the
is
super deluxe collector's edition.
yes, that is something is killing the children. Oh my gosh, bro.
Such
This
a good run.
this story,
It's
bro.
basically, we could both describe this. This is one of my favorite ongoings right
Oh,
now. It's basically monsters are real, but they're summoned and created by the fears of children, and
yes.
only
Yeah.
children can
Only
see them
children can see him.
except for the members
The
of this
House of
secret
Slaughter. Yeah.
society named the Order of St. George, which has different
Yes.
divisions in it, which are called
Like the House
houses,
of Yep, like the
and they're
House of
monster hunters.
Slaughter.
These are the
Yep.
only adults that can see and kill monsters. And
Oh
so
man.
they go around and secretly take care of things in very small towns that, where these monsters pop up. And it
Yes.
goes into conspiracies, and it goes into house rivalries, and, the members of the order are, like, trying to kill each other at one point.
Yes. Who really are the monsters? You know what I'm saying? It goes into
Right,
that.
is it the monster
Like,
hunters that keep doing it, or is it the actual monsters that only
yes.
really appear every so often?
Because when you think about it, the monsters are only doing what's in their nature. So
And
it gets it.
it's the
It's
monster
so good.
hunters
It's so
that go
good.
off and cause the majority of the chaos because they'll wipe out a whole town to keep the secret.
Yes.
That's the thing,
Yes.
like, the if you have any weird conspiracy theories about secret societies and secret orders,
Yes.
that's the kinda thing that this is covering,
You would
like,
love it.
they will if there's too many witnesses, they will gather everybody in the town in one area, and they will
Mm.
wipe them all out.
Yes. And like the artwork is really nice in here. The freaking
Erica Slaughter, she pretty much
Erica
goes AWOL, goes rogue at one point.
Erica is a badass. If you
She is a
man,
yes, there's no
if you
other
are looking
proper
for a
term for it.
strong female character, Erica Slaughter got you covered, fam.
One of the best written female lead
Best
characters
one of
in
the
that
best
I've ever read.
female characters, best written female characters in the last, Imma say decade, fam, and Imma give that to her because she this I fell in love with this character. And even, James, the little boy James, who's basically, a self-insert of James Tinian, uh, even looks like James Tinian, like a younger version of James
Yeah,
Tinian. Uh, I just absolutely love this story. There's a lot of spinoffs. This has became a really big hit. Like we said, there's a
it's
lot of
another one of
spinoffs
those
like
that got optioned recently. There's rumors of Netflix picking it up, I believe, either Netflix or
uh,
Amazon, I can't
Amazon. I
remember,
think it was Amazon. Yeah,
and,
Amazon is
it's
developing a TV show.
Something is Killing the Children. They've also got a new spinoff series. Well, it's not new now. The spinoff series House of Slaughter. There's also
Yep,
the Book of Slaughter,
yep.
and then they're getting ready to do the House of Butcher, I believe, aren't they?
Yes, yes,
Is
yes,
the
yes,
most recent thing I saw. So that's
yes.
another one that it's an indie title from an indie publisher, but
Mhm.
it's getting to that
And
level of an Invincible or it's
yes,
slowly getting up there,
it's
and once it's on
it
TV, it's
is
gonna be done with.
because literally, and I hope our viewers don't get like, you know, we're naming out a lot of series that connect to this. You don't have to read
No, that's
every
the
single
good thing
series.
is all the stories are basically parallel storylines. They're not
Yes,
all happening to each other at the same time. They're just
yes,
happening at the same time. So it's not
like
if that makes sense, like, they don't really interfere with each other is what I'm trying to say.
yes. If you do read all of them, you will get a really good kick out of it, but you will just be fine with just reading Something is Killing the Children or just
House of
I
Slaughter or
now I
just
do think you have to read Something is Killing the Children to, really get into the
for the
other
first
series
couple issues
for the
of House
first
of
couple
Slaughter,
issues.
yeah,
Yeah,
you probably won't really fully grasp what's going on unless you've read at least a couple issues of something, but
yeah.
at the same time, by issue 3, it doesn't matter anymore.
Exactly, exactly, exactly.
By the time issue 3 rolls around, the stories have completely diverged, and the all the characters are doing completely different things, so
Exactly. And that's from Boom Studios. So
Yeah, there's a lot of Boom
Realize, yeah.
Studios books on your list, man, I've noticed.
Oh, bro, I think Boom been like killing it for me, man. I'm not even gonna lie.
I mean, I
I've
can't
been
argue
really
with
loving
that, you
Boom.
know, Boom Studios have been
Uh,
killing it for a while now.
that's
The majority,
that's
well, I
three
wouldn't say the
books.
majority of, but a good chunk of the trade paperbacks I own are Boom Studios.
That's three books out of my five that are Boom. So
Yeah.
just saying, I'm a fan, a little bit of a fan. Yeah,
So, my top pick for 2023 right now, because we still have about a month to go of the year, so there's always a chance something's gonna come along and take the spot.
true.
This is one people have heard me talk about a lot, Hocus
Yes,
Hocus.
yes.
I'm buddies with one of the writers on here, Alan Dunford. It's also co-written by Will Radford, and it's drawn by Brian Belando. And it basically follows a magician named Pocus Hocus,
Hmm.
and he was a crappy magician at first, like not a good magician. And he goes to sell his soul to a demon in order to gain real magical powers for the primary reason of impressing his father, who has always looked down on him and who's a famous magician, like a good one.
Mm, of course.
So he does this, he sells his soul to the demon, but then his dad dies. So the whole
One
reason for him
person he
doing
wanted
this
to
doesn't exist
impress.
anymore.
Yeah,
So he goes
yeah,
for a little while. He celebrates because he hated his dad. You know, like on the surface of it, he hated his
yeah,
dad, and he gets a bunch of money because he becomes real famous for doing real magic on stage. You know, he gets real
yeah,
popular, and then he gets bored and he wants his soul back.
yeah.
Problem is, he has to know the demon's name in order to get his soul back. He has to be able to summon the same demon, which is a task in and of itself.
Mhm.
And when he does finally find the demon actually shows up at his house and says, "Yeah, my bad, I lost it gambling." So you find out that the demon only had his soul for about an hour, the
Yeah,
3.5 or 4 years ago or whatever it was that he sold his soul. But he only had it for an hour because he lost it in a poker game.
bro.
So the whole premise of the thing is him going to hell to track down where his soul is
Where
and
his
get it
soul
back.
went. Ah, that's lit. It's like
Bro, and
it,
it's a horror comedy. It's definitely a horror comedy because it's meant to be, like, scary, but it's
yeah,
so funny that you forget you're reading a horror book.
that's funny. It also kind of gives me like John Constantine,
Yeah,
kind
except
of vibes a
if
little bit.
John Constantine was a freaking drunk idiot. Like,
I
because
mean,
Pocus
sometimes.
is like a roaring alcoholic.
Yeah,
You know, he's always has bad ideas. Like, all his magic
of
tricks
course.
are always a bad idea. At
Mm,
one point, he, pulls a rabbit out of his hat. The
mhm.
rabbit was Horus from Hell, who is a general in Hell's army, and when
Wait, so Horse
this
from
time
Hell is
Horus in Hell, the series that other people you've also heard me talk about,
yeah
is a spin-off of Pocus
of
Hocus.
whoa, I didn't know that. I did
Yes.
not know that. That's crazy.
So, okay, context for everybody. Horus in Hell is a story about a little pink rabbit who is actually a general in Satan's army in Hell, and during a battle, he gets picked out from a vortex by Pocus, but he thinks it's the almighty evil creator finally giving him his reward for being a good general. And what it is, he pledges himself eternally to whoever's pulling him through this vortex. And it happens to be
Uh,
Pocus, and he pulls him out, and he's now by his ears being held by a magician, just got pulled out of a
yeah.
top hat in front of a crowd. So he's now eternally pledged to this idiot alcoholic magician with no soul.
This sounds like a great idea for a freaking TV show or something, man.
Bro, when I tell you these are two of my favorite books right now. The only reason I didn't put Horace on this list is because it's only out for Kickstarter backers right now,
Mhm.
and the Kickstarter campaign is over at the moment, so I don't think there's anywhere
Yeah.
people can get it yet, so I didn't wanna include it on the list.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Are any of these series like complete or they're still ongoing?
Most of them are still ongoing. I believe that, I believe that Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, I believe that's a complete one, but I could be mistaken as well on that.
Okay, okay, because I know
But no, the other 3 are definitely still ongoing.
the only one I had on my list that's complete is
Is the
Polarity,
last one on your list?
and the last one, and that is Public Domain by Chip Zdarsky. Fam. Ah, dog, this
Such a
series,
good run.
it's so good. It's also
It's a
heartbreaking.
quick read.
It is a quick read. It's only 6 issues. Um, and it just
Whoops,
speaks
sorry about
to
that. Wrong
it,
slide.
it just speaks to my soul. You know what I'm saying? I'm a very avid fan of Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko, and
It
just
definitely gives off Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko vibes when you're reading
yes,
it.
and not in like style, and not in like the art or anything like that. It's in the story, because it's about this guy. His dad um created the superhero called the Domain, and famous superhero ends up being pretty much sold off to these movie studios. They're just pumping it. They don't even care about the character. Dad's not getting paid. And then finds out dad still has the rights to the character. He needs to get paid. You know what I'm saying? So they basically took this man's character and they're just doing anything with it. And that speaks to what happens in the real world today with comic book characters, man. You see, how many times have the MCU even mentioned Jack Kirby or Steve Ditko or John Romita or any of the, like, you never see it.
It's all Stan Lee.
And even in this book, in Public Domain, one of his one of the dad's partners that helped, did Public Domain with him, uh gets all the glory, gets all the credit, even though he's not the true full creator of the
Yeah,
character. So it's
co-creator, like
he's a co-creator. So it's just a lot. It speaks to today, and I think this is just, if you could only read one book out of the five that I chose, definitely Public Domain. It makes you think. It makes you think, and
and it was,
it's
Chip Zdarsky's first, solo book, right? His first
first
creator-owned that he
first
wrote
first
and
creator
draw.
own. Yes, first creator own.
By far not
Um,
his first book, obviously. If
not
you
his first
know
book.
anything about Chip Zdarsky, he's a freaking icon at this point.
He kills it. He's more famous for, his Daredevil work over
Mhm.
at Marvel, his Spider-Man work at Marvel, Batman. He's currently writing Batman right now.
He's been on Batman for a while now.
Yes, he has. Uh, that'll be a whole nother topic. But yeah, it's he's good. He's good. I love his writing style. He is one of those modern writers, just like James Tynion, that stand the test of time. They're classic
And his
stories out
art
here.
is really, like, really clean.
Oh yeah, really
You know,
clean.
it's
Didn't
really
even know he
well,
was an
like,
artist.
outlined. It's because you don't really think of Chip Zdarsky as an artist first.
Yeah,
You know, you think, of him as a writer. He's the guy who wrote some of the best Daredevil run ever, like,
yeah,
he's the guy who wrote some of the best Spider-Man runs ever, like,
yeah,
you don't
yeah.
think of him as an artist first, I don't
I,
think.
I I hope he does art more often. So
Mhm.
because he's really good.
It's very good, I like it a lot.
But yeah, I
It almost
that's
feels like
my
it's kinda 3D.
yeah. In a way, that he brought life to these characters, and he makes you care about them too. And like, you feel for the dad, you feel for like the mom. I love the main character's brother. I'm sorry if I can't remember their names on the top of my head. I read a lot of stuff, so like remembering names is hard.
Those things read a lot of stuff, and again, I
Uh,
do wanna remind everybody we had to throw this episode together a little bit last second.
yeah, yeah.
So
Sorry.
But I
Uh,
do hope you guys are still enjoying yourselves. Chip has great indies too, Sex Criminals, which I haven't read, New Burn is really good. It's a good detective story. Stillwater, I still haven't read that either, but I keep hearing really good things about it. So yeah, Chip does a
yeah,
lot of great
yeah,
indie stuff on top of, the big 2 or 3, however
mhm.
you wanna call it. We had
Yeah,
that debate earlier.
but yeah, public domain, it's by Image. Image. But, yeah,
And yes, for
it's
the
good.
sake of this video, we're considering Image indie because again,
Image
this is
is
Chip
indie.
Zdarsky's first creator owned, so creator
Yeah.
owned.
I
I think that's
if
one
it's
thing that we
creator-owned.
might wanna start a trend of. Maybe we should change it from indie comics to creator owned comics.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe that would be a more appropriate label.
yeah, yeah,
Hmm,
maybe so.
something to think about.
Look at that. We're gonna see how it catches on, and people gonna know that they heard it here first.
Yeah, so if it does catch on, everybody, it's on record
It's
that,
on record.
we were the ones who helped start the change.
But yeah,
But
man.
before we get out of here, we do want to give another big thank you to our sponsors, Into the AM. If you want to take advantage of that and
Yep.
get some awesome graphic tees for 10% off your order, you can scan that QR code right there on the screen, or you can go over to intotheam.com/JJ Comics to get 10% off your order as well. And if you want to help to support the show directly, you can go ahead over to our merch store and get yourself a t-shirt, a hoodie,
Yeah.
sticker. We're working on some more merch designs here very soon, and that will help the show out more than you guys know. We are also available on Spotify, so if you want to scan that QR code right up there, you can get the audio version, which will go live every Thursday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I think that's all we have to plug. I hope everybody enjoyed today's episode. And
Yeah.
as always, please be safe, be kind, and take it easy, everybody.
Peace.